15 here, it says find the unit tangent vector, the unit normal vector, and the binormal vector of the given. So they give you this guy, t squared, 2t, 1/3, t cubed, and then they tell you to find it at t equals. So at least you'll have just numbers to punch things in at the end, and so some of it might be, relatively easy to figure out. So let's just start working things out. So what's r prime?
2t, 2 squared.
Okay, good. And then capital T will be that over the magnitude, right? So you compute the magnitude of this guy, which is the square root of 2t squared plus 2 squared plus t squared squared.
I want to ask, should I plug in 1, t equals to 1 here, or I need to plug in at e?
Well, so let's think about that for a second. So what are the definitions? So t, we have to calculate t. What is t?
RT's
R prime, right?
Yeah.
Over. So no problem if that's what you're asked for. You could plug in 1 here and you'd be fine. But what's the next thing you have to compute? N, right? What's the definition of n?
T over.
Same thing, but with t, right? So the derivative of t
Yes.
over the magnitude of that
Yep.
derivative. And so here's where, right, if you plug in 1 here, you can't use that to compute the derivative, right? And once you plug in the constant, you can't evaluate the derivative. So you're welcome to do it to find this, but in order to find that next derivative, you're going to need it with just an arbitrary t as well. Does that make sense? So what? I kind of like this. So this gives you what? T to the 4th plus 4t squared plus 4, right? I've changed the order around a little bit. But that factors, what does that factor as?
T squared plus 2 squared.
Yeah, t squared plus 2 squared. So it's nice algebra, and you just reduce yourself down to that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So let's, and we'll come, then B is just a cross product of those two, right? So capital T, and we'll plug in the 1 afterwards, but capital T will be what?
2t over t squared plus 2, 2 over t squared plus 2, t squared over t squared plus 2.
Okay. Good. All right, and so now, if you want t at 1, you can plug it in, but let's just hold off on that. To get n, we need t prime, right? And so, I'll move over here. We're gonna need more space, right? So it'll be a little ugly, but it's just quotient rule, right? So it's derivative of the top 2 times t squared plus 2 minus 2t times
2t.
t, good, all over.
T squared plus 2 squared.
And then this derivative will be what?
Negative 2 over t squared plus 2 third.
Squared
Oh, yeah.
times 2t.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so the chain rule kicks out. So you could either view that as a chain rule, or you could do a quotient rule there, just knowing your derivative of the 2 is 0, right? And then the same kind of idea here, right? 2t times
T squared plus 2 minus t squared times 2t over t squared plus 2 squared.
Okay, so we get that. Now this is, this was t prime too, right? I lost my prime. So, all of that was relatively ugly, right? So that's not, well, it's fine. So we've got a big mess here, but what do we have to compute? We want
Magnitude
T, we want N, we want B, right? And so, and we want them just at 1, so let's just start working through this. T of 1 is what then? Just 2
over 3.
thirds, good.
2 over 3.
2 thirds,
1 over 3.
1 third. Okay. Now when we computed the T, we said we're going to have to differentiate that, so we have to leave the T's in, right? Now if we want to compute N, so to get to B, so let me just write it this way. N is, well, I'll just write it at 1. N is T prime of 1 over the magnitude of T prime of 1, right? So that's fine. We don't need it to be, we don't need to find the magnitude of this for an arbitrary T. We can just plug stuff in. And then when we want B of 1, how is that defined?
Crossroads.
The cross product. And so the key is we don't need to differentiate to find this, right? We just need to take a cross product. And so at this stage, we're fine to just plug 1 in. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And so let's just do this slowly. When we plug 1 in there, you could clean that up if you want. Maybe we should, just to make sure we don't screw up. But what do you get? All of them in the denominator, you're going to get 9, right? You have 1 plus 2 squared in the denominator. So you'll get 9, 9, 9 here. What do we get up here then? 2 times 3, so 6 minus 4, so 2 9s. And just be careful here. It'll be easy to screw one of these up. Minus 4 over 9, right? And then 2 times 3 again, so 6 minus 2, 4. I think that's right, 4 9ths. And then we want, it's that over its magnitude, right? So then divided by the square root of,
4.
yeah, I mean you can write out 2 9ths squared plus negative 4 9ths squared plus 4 9ths squared. And so I suppose we should just clean this up, because when you do that, what are you going to get here? You're going to get 4 plus 16 plus 16. So that'll be what? 36. So this will give you, I'll just write it out, 2 9ths,
6 over 9.
negative 4 9ths, yeah. 4 9ths, and then divided by 6 9ths when you take that square root, right? And so then that flips over, the 9s all cancel, and then you just divide by 6, right?
Yep.
And so what do we end up with?
2 over 3.
2 over 3, I was going to write, well, 2 over 6, right, which is 1 over 3.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then 4 over 6, so negative 2 thirds, and then another 2 thirds, right? Does that make sense? And that, and so now you got nice, just numbers for these vectors, right? And so that cross product is just going to be your I, J, K, and just fill these in. So 2 thirds, 2 thirds, 1 third, 1 third, negative 2 thirds. Is that okay? And we good from there? I think I'll just leave it. Right? It's just a cross product. Okay. Any other questions on that one? Okay, so so 35, they give you R prime of T naught is something, no, I'm lost where I'm at, negative 6, 4, 12, right? And they tell you the second derivative of T naught is 426. And then they ask you to find a bunch of things, and I think you asked about B, right? But let's just kind of work our way through some of this. So how do you find T, capital T?
Here's the first one.
Right, so you have the derivative, right? So it's just R prime of that T naught over that magnitude. And I don't think I'll bother computing those. Does that seem okay? You just plug those things in. Okay, and then let's see, what was the next thing that was asked? Oh, so the next one was the N. And I think it's a little bit unfortunate that they ask it in this order, because that's the trickiest one.
Yes.
And so you think, oh, well, now I should be able to find N, but you actually can use the other pieces in order to find that N. So let's talk about the other one. So C is B.
I need
Did you find B or no?
to, I just need to find
Right, okay,
N
good.
first.
So once you have T and N, then B is easy, right?
Yes.
So I'll just say
Then go
T, T naught, cross, N. So that one won't be bad either, right?
Yep.
The next ones that ask you to find are A sub T, A sub N, and then so what are the formulas for these? Do you remember?
The first one is dot product for R derivative, and the second derivative over the magnitude of the first derivative of one.
Alright, so that's good. You're okay getting that one?
Yep.
Alright, what about the A sub N?
It's the magnitude of cross product for the,
I'm gonna leave off the
Yep.
T naughts, but same formula but with cross product up
Yes.
top, right? And then,
the same.
okay, and then kappa, we've already done this a couple times, right? So I'll just leave that one off. We had that formula for kappa, so you know that. So, these are all things that you should be able to come up with. And so N is the one left over that it's like, oh, well, how do we find that, right? Because that was the same problem here, right? Once you've plugged in the numbers for T1, or for T, you can't compute N because you can't take derivatives of the constants, right? So that's why this seems like, at least on the surface, like there's not enough information. But let's go back to the definition. What is, well, first of all, what is acceleration at T naught?
AT times T.
Well, so in one hand, it's the second derivative, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then the formula is what? A T,
Times T. T, oh.
well, of T naught, so I'll just write it this way. A sub T,
And
T plus
A sub M times N.
N. Okay. You know this,
Oh.
you know this and this now. You know this, so you can find that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's a little bit cumbersome, but you can just work your way through it.
Okay.
And so I don't think I'll bother with these, because I think these are pretty straightforward calculations, hopefully. This is definitely tricky, but you can get there from there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right.